Welcome, welcome. So this is going to be maybe a short little stream. I just want to get out some updates for you guys who tune into my channel for Delphi updates and things like that. A lot has gone on since this morning. Um, Richard Allen's attorneys have spoken, and they've kind of hinted to what we may find in the probable cause affidavit, even though the judge hasn't decided whether or not to release it, redacted, unredacted. Whatever. The decision has not been made yet. So I figure we'll do a quick recap, show you some of the footage that we've gathered. Then I think we'll go into, when the room kind of fills up, we'll go right into the what the attorneys had to say. One of them doesn't speak much. Rosie, his attorney, last name Rosie, he doesn't speak much. But his other attorney, he spends about 10 minutes giving his opinions, and it's definitely worth a watch, and it's the whole reason we came live today. That and some updates, okay, guys? Or I wouldn't call them updates, recaps. Sorry, I'm using the wrong words. Yeah, we're going to go into Barb McDonald's. I took a little clip from the HLN special this morning. Just Barb McDonald's part. She's very descriptive of what she's seen in the courtroom. I found it extremely helpful. Paints a very good picture. She's a very talented reporter. I mean, as soon as you give her the stage, the details, they just start coming out, and it just really paints a picture. So I want to thank her for that. Good thing she was in there today. Appreciate it. What up? What up? Good to see all you guys. All right. So we're going to do a quick recap of what we saw this morning. A couple news reports. Richard Allen coming and going. The Patties coming and going. I think Curly JK posted a picture of Rick Snay and Frank Meister from Marvin Frank coming out of the courtroom. We'll take a look at that. But I think we're going to spend most of the time sharing our opinion on what the defense has to say. And we'll save that for last. So this first video is Richard Allen arriving to the courthouse. For those of you who haven't seen it, so he just kind of wobbled in there. Shortly after, we did have, looks like Mike, Becky, and from what I see, Kelsey. I'm not sure who the other two are.
These are our grandparents.
Yes, there is a gag order. For anybody who had access to the probable cause affidavit, there is a gag order. And we will take a look at it, actually. It is on paper. So it looks like Mike was getting them in there pretty quick, most likely to shield them from dealing with the media right now. I believe they did speak with HLN early in the morning. I can't find that interview. So if anybody has it, if you can send it to me, I'd appreciate it. It still appeared to be dark outside. Wait, there were riots? What are you talking about, riots? Was there riots? I didn't hear about no riots. I don't know. He looks really short because I'm a short guy, and he looked tiny. He may be like 5'4". I mean, he looked like an 8-year-old walking with those guys. So yeah, he might be shorter than 5'7". What's up, Glenn? Was the gag order actually approved by the judge? It was issued by the judge, not approved. I don't know if it was requested by the prosecutor. It most likely was requested. This is an open investigation. They got to protect witnesses, and somebody's squirming. There's others involved in this. They are squirming. So they've probably been squirming since October. And I can't wait until they bring you down. If you took part in this, yeah, it ain't long now. That's for sure. Exactly. This is one of the strangest cases I've ever seen or encountered. Yeah, tentacles. Doug Carter said, "Now is not the time to celebrate. We are not done." All right, let's take a look at Richard Allen leaving the courtroom. Yeah, Lauren, you might be right. We'll take a look right now. So I just grabbed a screenshot before. I looked it over, but not thoroughly. Let's take a look together here. All right. It's a good question, Chopper. Yeah, he did. He said it wouldn't hurt the case. Yeah, and it seems like the defense hasn't completely educated themselves on the case yet. Remember, they just picked up the case not too long ago. They're not getting the information yet. So, they're going to have a lot of time for discovery. He's a scapegoat or just part of a much bigger wheel, a spoke on a bigger wheel. Yeah, Candace, off the charts crazy, especially after today. Just so confusing. All right. Let's dive into this real quick and then we'll catch back up on chat. So, everything that was updated as far as today, of course, we got the hearing that was at 9, and then there was a motion filed. Motion for order prohibiting the parties, counsel, law enforcement officials, court personnel, coroner, even the coroner. So I wonder if that happened early on, and family members from disseminating information or releasing any extrajudicial statements by means of public communication filed. So I think this is what Lauren was referring to. So yes, the motion was filed, but was it granted? Not yet, apparently. But we'll take a look later. We'll keep you posted. This is actually about a 10-minute news broadcast from about an hour ago. I'm sure all the channels are showing it right now. It's pretty much the most up to date as about an hour, maybe an hour, about an hour ago. So we'll watch this and then we'll dive right in to what the attorneys had to say.
Good morning, I'm Anne-Marie Tiernan joining you live along with Bob Siegel. We are in Delphi in Carroll County where for the first time today we were able to see the suspect in the Delphi murder case, Richard Allen, head into court. There were a couple key issues that he was arguing, and Bob, tell us a little bit about the scene today and what you believe was the biggest news.
Well, the scene started. It was a packed courtroom today. Just about every seat. They left the front row seats open, but otherwise every other seat was filled in that courtroom, and we got to see Richard Allen walk into the court today. He is the defendant right now, the only defendant named in the Delphi murders, and he walked in a yellow prison jumpsuit, both his hands and his ankles in chains. He was accompanied
Rockaway,
by his
what
attorneys.
rioters,
To
man.
me, the biggest moment that came out during this hearing today, which was about whether to release public records, was a statement that was made by the prosecutor. And we've heard before kind of allusions to the fact that investigators think that there might be someone else who might have been involved in the killings. And, you know, we heard at the press conference a few weeks ago, they said this is still a very ongoing investigation to see if there's anyone else involved. Today, the prosecutor told the judge, in trying to argue why the case and the records should remain sealed, he said, "We believe Richard Allen is not the only actor involved in this." To date, that is the most direct statement so far by investigators and the prosecutor.
Let's take a look at this comment. Girl with curl. The gag order can't be legit. The wrong judge's name on it. Nothing has a wrong judge's name on it other than the hearing that's scheduled for the February 17th and then March 20th. If that's what you're referring to. I just think I don't know if he's going to be the judge. I know he recused himself early on. But he might be the default name that's just in there right now. That could change. But I mean, this is straight from the Indiana My Case. It's updated. It's legit. It's not always 100% accurate, but it's legit.
They believe that these murders were not committed by one single person.
So two big issues coming into the courtroom today. One is the probable cause affidavit. Are those records going to be released? And
Lola says, Sleuth, did you have any expectation going into today's hearing? Yes, I did. I did not expect them to announce other people, even though I've definitely been open to it. I was more worried about covering the information, so I didn't really get a chance to form an opinion. But yeah, I had this feeling that they would release the probable cause and that there may not be anybody else involved. But that was only because all of the speculation that we've been doing over these past years, a lot of it seems like it may now become true. And it's hard to predict anything with this case. It's a never-ending curveball.
was he granted bail? He's being held without bail, saying that the case was flimsy against him. What were the decisions on that?
Well, first we'll deal with the bail issue. It was just a request late in the day yesterday by Richard Allen's attorneys to grant bail and to ask the judge to have a bail hearing. That's actually now going to take place in February. The judge said that she will hear that. She wanted to leave plenty of time, and the court's dockets, the judge and the courtroom, the availability, it's not going to be until after the holidays and in February that's going to happen. On the issue of whether to release the documents, the judge heard from both Richard Allen's attorneys as well as from the prosecutor.
Yeah, Rhonda, we're going to hear from the
She
attorneys
got some evidence,
firsthand.
And heard their testimony and why they think that it either should or should not be released, the probable cause affidavit. She's taking that under advisement, and she said she will rule on that. We believe nothing is going to come out on that today. Whether it's tomorrow, whether it's after Thanksgiving, we're not sure, but we expect it to be within the next 10 days.
We're used to the wheels of justice turning slowly.
Yes.
Thank you. I'm going to check back with you in a little bit about what happens next, but I do want to bring in, we're just going to hand over the mic here, situation like this. Thank you so much, Sam Johnson, another one of our
Rhonda, they already
reporters
launched
that
a
was in the
lawsuit.
courtroom, along with Karen Campbell, who's here, going to be reporting as well. Tell me some of the statements that you found from the prosecutor and from the defense attorneys that you felt were most meaningful.
Yeah, as Bob mentioned, there were a couple key takeaways. Obviously, one of them being the fact that the prosecutor didn't believe that Richard Allen wasn't the only one in this case. So that's one of the main takeaways. Something else to point out, too, he presented the judge 4 pieces of what he considered to be key evidence in this fight to keep these documents sealed. And one of them, the third aspect of this that he submitted, was actually a written letter from Becky Patty. And of course, that's the grandmother of Libby German. That letter was asking the judge and the court to keep those documents sealed. The other thing that the prosecutor submitted today was a petition, and it had more than 40,000 signatures on it from community members who agreed that the documents should be sealed. And one other quote that caught my attention from the prosecutor, a lot of people have been saying, well, it's in the public's interest to release those documents, to unseal them so we know what actually happened. The prosecutor said that is the public interest, finding justice for Libby and Abby. He said, and if we release those documents, it could interfere, so to speak, with that investigation at this point. So that was his argument. On the flip side, a few of the key takeaways from the defense attorney, they were saying, a lot of this, when you look at similar cases, past cases, this is a unique case nonetheless, but he said it's, at this point, causing a practical problem, is what he called it. Because at this point, we're creating more question and more stir about what actually happened rather than just putting the facts of the case out there. So that was one of his key arguments, of course, on behalf of Richard Allen.
And their indication was that they do not have a strong case against Richard Allen.
That's exactly right. And we actually got the chance to talk to both defense attorneys afterwards. And we asked them, we said, what is it in the documents that you've been able to read that points to your client? And he kind of gave us this shrug, and he said, you can answer that question when you read it for yourself, too, because as they're concerned, there is not that direct evidence there. So certainly from both sides, an important day. And as Bob mentioned, too, we're going to wait to hear that announcement from the judge, depending on which way she makes that order.
Yeah. Karen Campbell, I'd love you to come in and join our conversation here. Your observations about the mood in the courtroom today, and I know you were kind of keeping an eye on the family and the whole scene there. I mean, this is big goings on anywhere, especially in small town Indiana.
Yeah, so the mood, it was an interesting mood, right? Because security, first of all, was extremely tight. There were police officers, sheriff deputies, not just outside the courtroom, on all 3 levels of the courtroom, outside, inside the courtroom. The judge had requested everyone be silent. She wanted all attention to be
Right,
focused
Elle?
on what's happening in the courtroom. Now, the families of Libby and Abby, they were seated, like Bob said, in the second row. When the suspect, Richard Allen, walked into the room, he didn't make any contact with any members of the family, any members of the audience. So when you talk about the mood inside that courtroom, I mean, you could almost hear a pin drop, but everyone was so focused on what this judge was going to determine. Of course, you heard Bob say we're going to have to wait for that decision. But everyone was just so focused. Everyone was so focused in that courtroom.
So that was in the courtroom. What happened afterwards? Did the family speak out? Did they have any reaction, or did they decline at this time?
Well,
And New York Rory, yes. It looks like he is the bridge guy, from what I understand, but there's more involved.
We tried to wait for the family to come down to the first floor. Becky Patty walked past the cameras, and Samantha Johnson had asked Becky, about why you wanted to keep the documents sealed. We didn't get much, from the family. We didn't even see the family leave. Perhaps they didn't want to be interviewed today. Perhaps they wanted, their time of peace. So.
Yeah. So much build up to this time. Thanks so much, Karen, for your perspective. We're going to bring in Bob for, what happens next. And I know you've been following some of the legal aspects of this case closely. And when we're talking about these documents coming out, really arguments on both sides. Everybody wants justice. They just have a differing opinion of what's the best way to get there, it seems.
Absolutely. And that was really one of the more interesting parts of today's hearing. You heard the prosecutor. He argued the fact that in order to protect witnesses, some of which are juveniles in the case, in order to prevent chaos in the
Juveniles.
courtroom and things of that sort.
Keep
and
that in
really
mind. There's
to
people that are
protect
witnesses that
the
are still
ongoing
juveniles.
investigation, that the records need to remain sealed. On the other hand, you have
And the
defense
defense was
saying
okay with that
the
part.
fact that we had a very orderly court hearing today is evidence that there does not need to be chaos in this case. And I thought that they made a compelling argument about the fact that there's so much interest in this case, and much of that interest is just growing at this point because of secrecy and the fact that the probable cause affidavit, which would theoretically explain why police believe Richard Allen is linked to the murders, that's been sealed, that's secret. And their argument is the longer that that's the case, the more likelihood that there could be chaos and even more heightened interest. So the judge is going to be weighing really the transparency versus the ability of the prosecutor to conduct his case, and it's going to come down to whether the judge feels that the public interest outweighs the prosecutor's argument for why these documents should remain sealed. So she has several days to make her decision whether or not it comes before Thanksgiving or after Thanksgiving. At this point, we don't know the answer to that, but certainly a possibility will be that she will order the probable cause affidavit to be released
What's up,
with
Gloria?
redactions. And in court today, we heard that the prosecutor offered up a
Round
copy
two.
of the probable cause affidavit with witness names redacted, and he asked the judge, if you are going to release the document,
No, this
please
is
do so
WTHR,
with the
channel
witness
13,
information
local,
redacted there. So
Indiana.
that seems like it could be a likely scenario that within the next few days we will get the probable cause affidavit, just with some information redacted.
Yeah, and you spoke with former prosecutor Jack Crawford yesterday, and certainly it was his prediction based on his long career and experience that that's exactly what's going to happen. It is going to be released. I mean, that was his argument.
Yes.
As a prosecutor, when the prosecutor here doesn't want it released.
Exactly.
It's interesting.
It is. And, another interesting point that was made by the defense here is that all along in this case, investigators have been relying on the public to give tips and to weigh in with information to help them solve this crime. And the defense said it's ironic and perhaps somewhat backward at this point that now that we're at this point in the case, all of a sudden
Shut the public out.
You want to keep that information from the public a secret. And they say if in fact there is someone else who might be responsible, you would, if you release information to the public, that gives them even more information to be able to weigh in on. So it is interesting. There are compelling arguments.
Hi,
on
Carrie.
each side.
Welcome.
It'll be up to the judge to kind of weigh through all that and to decide which best serves the public interest when it comes to justice in this case.
Yeah, and finds the person who's responsible for taking those two young girls, Abby Williams and Libby German, from their community. I mean, 5 years ago, in their teens, in 8th grade, and certainly the search for justice is continuing on. I do want to just ask, you know, I have not seen Richard Allen in person. I've seen these pictures of this man along this trail. I've seen sketches. You saw him in person today. What was your observation of him? I mean,
Certainly, he was very quiet. He did not show much expression on his face. Surrounded by security, wearing flak jackets, heavily armed.
Thank you, CJK.
And, individual, not very tall, slight stature, walking, and I could hear he was coming into the courtroom because the first thing you hear is the chains, both his feet and his wrists bound in chains. So to see him in person, he did not show a lot of emotion in court today.
Yeah, Ruckus, I have that. I have the actual documents. I don't know if we're going to look at them. There's not really much in there. But I mean, it is worth taking a look at. Maybe we have some extra time. Yeah, I do have the actual, I've had those documents here, so I do appreciate you sending them to me. I've had a couple people send them to me. So anybody who is trying to send me the media interveners pre-hearing information, I have that. And if we have time, we'll look at it. Thank you.
And we might not expect that. It was a procedural hearing today about the release of records, but it was our first opportunity to see him. And again, it's worth pointing out, his attorneys say police got the wrong guy. They insist that Richard Allen is innocent, and they say that they believe that when and if the probable cause affidavit is released, they say what's in there is flimsy, and that the evidence that is contained in that probable cause affidavit is not robust, not as robust as they would think that you normally see in a document that explains why someone is responsible for a heinous crime.
yeah. And the person who said that he did not act alone is attributed to whom today? When you said the biggest news that came out today, that was attributed
Frank
to...
said McClelland.
That was Nicholas McClelland. He is the prosecutor for Carroll County, and again, he said in court today.
Yeah, shout out to Frank from Frank and Marv, True Crime with Frank and Marv. He was in the court and he called us and gave us an update. Thank you so much, Frank.
Again, there's so much more information to be known about this case. It's in sealed documents right now. Whether or not it serves justice to be able to release those documents for the public to be able to really see what police know at that point. At this point, that's what is being decided. That's what we expect to hear from the judge in the next couple of days if she's going to release those documents.
Yeah. All right. Good job. Thanks so much, Bob. And so that's the latest here from Delphi and Carroll County today, where there was this court hearing for Richard Allen. We do not have a ruling from the judge yet on the probable cause affidavit, the decision about whether or not there will be bail established for him. Just to give you a little bit of background, at first it was set for $20 million, and then that was quickly taken down, and then it was like no bail. So in the defense argument in this case is that after looking at the probable cause affidavit, their argument is that there is not a strong case against Richard Allen and that there should be bail. A decision and a ruling on that request is now, as it stands, on the court docket for February. So our team now is working on gathering more information and interviews that will continue in our coverage on all of our platforms here on Channel 13. And our next newscast is at noon. We'll be there and throughout the afternoon, and join us tonight at
Good morning. I can tell you the hearing lasted about 30 minutes. Richard Allen was brought in. He was wearing a bright yellow prison jumpsuit with a bulletproof vest. He was shackled at his hands and feet. He had a chain wrapped around his chest area, and that's where his hands were shackled. So they were up pretty high, not down low as you might expect. He came in with his attorneys. He sat down. Just before he did sit down, he did look into the gallery and made eye contact with several members of Abby and Libby's families who were sitting there. There were about 17 or 18 members of both families present for this hearing. Once the hearing got underway, Nick McClelland, the prosecutor for Carroll County, made several arguments about why this information should remain sealed. He presented 4 exhibits to the court regarding his argument, and basically he said there were 2 reasons why he wanted that information to remain sealed. One was to protect any witnesses that were mentioned in that document, and 2, because this is an ongoing and active active investigation. And Mr. McLeland actually said in court that they have good reason to believe that Mr. Allen is not the only actor in this heinous crime, and that they are looking for anyone else who may be involved in this case. And that is why they want all of that information to remain sealed. The defense attorneys took a very different approach. They said that they are asking for transparency, that is the norm in these matters, and that Mr. Allen would like this information that is being used against him at this point to be made public. The defense attorneys did agree that the information about some of the witnesses, they don't have an objection to that being redacted, that some of the witnesses were described as being current minors. Some of them were minors at the time of their witness involvement. And so the prosecutor in this case did present the judge with a redacted version of the probable cause affidavit for her to review. It was not entered into evidence at this point or listed as an exhibit, but she did say that she would consider that as part of her notes. Once the hearing wrapped up, the judge said that she would take all of this under advisement. She would go over her notes and case law and make a written ruling on whether or not the probable cause and charging documents in this case should remain sealed or whether they should be released to the public, and if so, how they should be released to the public, how much of a redaction there should be, whether she's going to agree with what the prosecutor presented her in court today or not. Now, we also talked about a bond hearing in this case. Within the last 48 hours, the defense attorneys did file for bond in this case or to have Mr. Allen released on his own recognizance. And the judge said that she would like to set a different hearing for that. That is going to happen on February 17th anniversary of these murders, which were February 13th of 2017, the 6-year anniversary approaching. That's the week we're going to be back in court to find out whether Mr. Allen is going to get bond or whether he would be allowed to be released on his own recognizance. His attorneys in their motion filing for that bond did say that they don't believe that there is enough evidence against him to hold him without bond, and that is why they are asking for him to be released either with a minimal bond or on his own recognizance. Now, there was initially, when this case was, when Mr. Allen was first arrested, there was a hearing set for January of 2023. That hearing has now been canceled, and that hearing will be blended into the bond hearing, which is scheduled again for February 17th of 2023. Also, right now, there is, from the original court calendar, a trial scheduled for March. It is unknown at this time if anybody is going to be ready for a trial at that time. I do anticipate that will probably be moved, but the next time we're in court on this case is going to be in February.
Oh, we got a super chat here. Let me go down to Miss Dog Lover. Thank you so much. Let's take a look. See what you got to say here. That was Barb McDonald, HLN. Great job from that whole crew. Thank you so much. This worries me. Why such secrecy if they have such a solid case on RA? They can remove names of all the witnesses. Where are all the other arrests if others are involved? So one thing, and I could be wrong, but my understanding is this. Probable cause is something that happens before the search warrant happens. This is how they get the search warrant. They provide the probable cause, most likely coming from Kagan Klein, the search, or something like that. Something led them to believe that they would find evidence of murder, right? Remember the Ron Logan affidavit? They believed that they would find evidence of murder. They had probable cause to go search that property. Okay. So remember, the probable cause isn't going to have anything that they found. So once they were able to get the search warrant, then they conducted a search of the property. And the defense attorneys have no idea what that is yet. They have no clue. They haven't even begun to defend this person yet. This is, these are all just formalities, you know? They haven't had a chance to see the list of what was found in Richard Allen's home. So it could be one, there may not be any evidence of other people involved in the probable cause affidavit. There might not even be a whole lot there. It may not even be that big of a deal. There might just be witnesses involved, and we don't know who those witnesses are, how they're related. It just sounds like some of them are juveniles. They need to be protected. But they may have found something after the search. And anything that's found during that search is not going to be listed in that probable cause affidavit. Just to FYI. No effects punk 99. If Richard Allen really wants the info out there, what's to stop him from leaking some of it himself? Yeah, I mean, it's a good point, but sure, that would be another charge, contempt, maybe contempt or something. So we'll catch up on the chat, and then we'll go ahead and look at the interviews with his attorneys. Then, if we have time, we'll look at the actual gag order itself that was submitted. It doesn't look like it's been approved, or there hasn't been a decision on it, but it has been submitted. So I want to thank everybody who sent that to me. I appreciate it. If he didn't do it, I mean, I don't think law enforcement's going to proceed with this case if they didn't find something during that search. Yeah, that letter was wacky. No, currently minors. Was reported by media that they're still minors. So this could be new witnesses even. That's interesting. Candace. Yeah, the arrest warrant affidavit. There's going to might be some more details there. We might not see that until the court process starts to unfold. Well, if there's another killer, I don't know. I mean, other people being involved, Kagan, everything that seems to have come out via sources and whatnot, like what the Murder Sheet podcast had to say. That stuff could all be back in play. Kagan waiting around somewhere while somebody else committed the crime. They could have used Kagan as a tool. Like, hey, you're good at catfishing, right? Okay, well, we need you to catfish this person. Because apparently he may have reached out to the girls like around in 2016 through Instagram or something, but he really didn't start a campaign against them. Really until early February. So it's a really short amount of time when the grooming began, according to Kagan Klein's affidavit. So I think all that stuff's still very relevant. Yeah, exactly, Luke. I don't think they do, Olivia. I don't think they need to know yet. They'll need to know when they have to know, when prosecution, um, legally has to turn that information over, which will be most likely pretty soon. And when that happens, that's going to put Richard Allen in a position to warn somebody. You know, this could be just maybe one of his little buddies, a family friend, somebody he was getting high with that day. I mean, we really don't know. We don't know how premeditated this was. Hey, Grizzly, good to see you. All right, because of time, let's get this moving. This is I think it's about 10 minutes.
Meaningful time, so that's just not something I can comment on.
What do you think about the prosecutor saying
Certainly, comment on those kind of things. I don't think that's having entirety.
Does the PC document reflect that?
Exactly what we were just dealing with.
Would you just say
Not Rozzy, and I'm going to get into all the nuances.
No, sorry.
But there are Rozzy. Thank you. Thank you. I need to get a longer one for you.
That's it?
That's right, he didn't talk to him, I think. I couldn't see the second one, really. But this one is the one who did, yeah.
Huh?
Right here, they were behind Alan, smiling at him.
Oh. Is this fan?
Thank you so much.
Absolutely, we want the PCA read. Just like my co-counsel Brad said at the end of the hearing, the prosecutor and the police for the last number of years have been conducting press conferences and asking the public for help. anxious for this thing to get going, and we'll see. And when you guys read the PCA, presuming that the judge grants our motion, you will have to question, is this what happens after 5 years of an investigation? Is this what it is? We don't have any other evidence. We don't have any discovery. That's all we have, and we are not impressed.
When you say this would help you to get it out, how would that help?
Well, you never know what person out there might read something, and it might ring a bell. It might cause them to point the finger in the direction of the actual killer. This whole business of the two people being involved, the conjecture from the prosecutor today was information for 6 days. So
at the evidence.
I don't know. That's new news. So
That's not reflected. In the
I have no information about that.
Why do you think it's important for the public to see this probable cause affidavit?
Somebody person that contacts us, we're going to contact them, everybody. And we're going to
Alan said this impact
life is just a one wonderful person for years. They love each other, and she fully supports him, but it is devastating. She's scared. She doesn't want to leave her house. She did leave her house. She thankfully is in a little bit better place than she was a month ago, but this is all new to them.
Can you say anything about why investigators are focused on your client?
You guys will read the probable cause affidavit, and you may wonder why they are focused on our client.
We haven't asked you the fundamental question, and that is, your client's the wrong guy?
Our client's the wrong guy.
And what's the main point that you hope the judge takes away from your argument today? This has impacted him and or his family.
Obviously, this has impacted is to wonder over 30 years. They were basically high school sweethearts. They reached it in the house. She I think was a month ago.
Investigators are focused on your client.
We'll read the probable cause affidavit, and you may
Ask you the fundamental question, and that is, your client's the wrong guy?
Our client's the wrong guy.
And what's the main point that you hope the judge takes away from your argument today?
And we have nothing to hide, and transparency is important in government. It may be weird for defense lawyers, I suppose, to be arguing that we want things unsealed, but that's how confident we are in our client. That's how confident we are that the evidence contained in at least what's written in the probable cause affidavit is nothing for us to worry about. We don't know what other evidence is out there, but we're confident that whatever is out there is not going to be enough to show that our client did anything here. He's confused. He's bewildered. Rick, you guys.
meaningful time, so that's just not something I can comment on.
What do you think about the involved in this?
Yeah, those comments certainly caught my ear. Things we should start, throwing thoughts around.
See document reflect.
I'm not going to about that. That's
So would you
exactly
also
what we
just-
were just dealing with.
Would you just say your name for the record, please? It's on here.
I feel like I'm in a courtroom.
Sorry,
My
just for our
name is
camera.
Brad Rosie. It's pronounced Rosie, not Rozzy. I'm not going to get into all the nuances. But there are Rozzies around too.
So that we get it right, spell your last.
R-O-Z-Z-I.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
I'm going to have her. Thank you. I need to get a longer one.
I think I can see the second one really, but this one is the one who.
Oh,
Thank you so much.
Absolutely, we want the PCA read. Just like my co-counsel Brad said at the end of the hearing, the prosecutor and the police for the last number of years have been conducting now with the public for update online or wherever they get it, and bring about it to help out the staff very emotionally. He has thanked us for our help. And we are anxious. We'll see. And when you guys read the piece, is this what we don't have any other?
all right. Let's see if that helps. I don't know if we're having like a buffering issue, but it looks like I have some better internet now. So let me reload that video again.
Full time, so that's just not something.
In this case.
I have no information about that.
Why do you think it's important for the public to see this probable cause affidavit?
Again, I think it's important because somebody might read something, a line about, you're going to maybe about a vehicle or about a person or about a time frame, and it might ring a bell, something that they hadn't thought of before. And when they read that, then they can contact us as lawyers. We're getting lots of information. We don't know what is hoaxes. We don't know what's true. We don't know if it's a podcaster's, opportunity to get in the limelight. We don't know what's real, but we're going to look at every single.
Oh, carbon. Yes. That is a good point. uploaded a vehicle, or a vehicle, sorry, a video, but it was set to a good catch. I did catch him. We'll pause it when that happens. We'll take a look.
Person that contacts us, we're going to contact them, everybody, and we're going to figure out if what they know is helpful.
What, if anything, has your client, Richard Allen, said this has impacted him and
Yeah, he does.
family?
Obviously, this has impacted Richard and his family tremendously. I mean, his wife is big school sweethearts. They love you, and she fully budded is dating. She did leave her house. She thankfully is in a little bit better place than she was a month ago, but this is all new to them.
Can you say anything about why investigators are focused on your client?
You guys will read the probable cause affidavit, and you may wonder why they are. Client's the wrong guy.
The main point that you hope the judge takes away from your argument today?
Not sure what the hell is going on here. Here, let's try this again.
Basically high school sweethearts. They love each other, and she fully supports him, but it is devastating.
And it might be because I
leave her house. She did leave her house. She thankfully is in a little bit better place than she was.
might be having trouble playing it on here.
This is all new to them.
Can you say anything about why investigators are focused on your client?
We're for that we want how confident we are in our client. That's how confident we are that the evidence contained in at least what's written in the probable cause affidavit is nothing for us to worry about. We don't know what other evidence is out there, but we're confident that whatever is out there is not going to be enough to show that our client did anything here. He's confused, he's bewildered, He's actually by Rick. Rick has no idea. Like this that we've talked about with him, and the same can be said for his wife. How can an innocent man be charged, accused, and basically convicted in the court of public opinion is what they say. But what I said to him is, there's plenty of people out there that are supporting you. We're getting a lot of calls from a lot of people that don't believe that Rick is the guy.
Should Judge Frankel keep these documents sealed, how do you guys proceed?
Well, it's like my co-counsel Brad Rosie said, you cannot conduct a suppression issue in public without talking about the facts. Tiptoeing around the facts is going to be impossible. That's another really terrific reason why these documents need to be unsealed.
In America, you don't have to prove that somebody's the wrong guy. They have to prove he's the right guy. Could you just elaborate on why you say he's the wrong guy?
Well, again, I'm early on in this case. I've looked my client in the eye, and he's looked me in the eye, and he's told me what he's told me. I'm innocent. Thank you for helping me out. And we'll see what the evidence looks like. The PCA, the probable cause affidavit, we are not impressed.
Can you tell us more about what the prosecutor said regarding a second person who might be involved?
Well, that was news to us. So whoever was in that room listening to the prosecutor talk about a second. I get a lot about this case. I'm learning and learning and learning. There's people that have podcasts and all kinds of stuff that no,
Sure. What?
I don't
Jesus.
know what anything means, but this second person doesn't. I think somebody had heard me with the podcast. But you mentioned, you may think I'm, an attorney. How do I know who Keaton Klein's? I'm the guy that I don't know. I don't know anything about any other than.
Apologize. I've had about 15 people mention that. I can't just go in there. I can stop playing the video.
But I would say. I protect people, and I respect that. The second person, the investigation is continuing to go on. Again, that is something new. So I'll take the prosecutor at his word that those are the reasons why. When I say flimsy, what I'm talking about, I'm a defense attorney that's handled, I don't know how many murder cases over the years. I've got many pending right now. Holding things later on, and I might have a different opinion. But at this moment in time, reading it soon if the judge grants our request, and then you'll form your.
That video was recorded at high def. That signal here. I think that does happen from time to time. Yeah, today's just really glitchy, and I don't know why. Yeah, see, and now out of nowhere, it just like kicked back in. I think there was just something with that video. Just too much. See, now everything's working fine. Crazy. That's why you can't rely on the internet. Well, it sounds like very strong. It may have been enough, but most likely whatever they is what they're holding. During the search, they found evidence that there was somebody else involved. Maybe some photographs, maybe some photographs of the actual crime. You see a foot Yeah, so I'm not exactly sure what's going on, but I'm getting some king. I'm not sure what's going on. It's not on my end. I'm sure it's just, something going on with my service provider, which does happen. And if we need to, so I want to thank everybody for showing. Ooh. Best guess. Who is the other actor? I'm going to say somebody that we haven't seen. I'm going to say somebody who has an intimate relationship. Somebody that he shares intimacy with. And I do apologize. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Sorry we didn't have a signal today. I mean, it does happen. I think we're going to end the stream. And I'll talk to you guys real soon. I promise. Take care.